So that's a good question. So especially for smaller and medium-sized businesses, I would really recommend focusing on organic marketing.
Hey everybody, my name is Andrew Tran and welcome to another episode. Today, I want to introduce you to a good mate of mine, Mr. Wes Jackson, owner, founder of Omega Digital. Wes, take it away. Explain who you are, what you do.
So as Andrew said, my name is Wes Jackson. I'm the founder and owner of Omega Digital, which is a digital marketing agency here in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. And we primarily focus on social media, SEO, and online advertising, especially within the education sector and F&B sector, both of which have been hit really hard by this virus situation.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
We've kind of had to shift gears in terms of strategy. So let's say, for example, we're an international school and we've primarily been advertising all of our budget with Google Ads. That's not really working anymore. What I've seen to actually work is more of what people would call like omni-channel strategy, specifically in terms of advertising. So instead of lumping all of our budget into Google Ads, we would spread it out evenly between Google Ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, LinkedIn ads, everywhere, but not display ads for Google. So the big issue right now with display advertising specifically is all the news is about the coronavirus. It's all bad. So you don't really want your ads next to stuff like that. And two, even if they are next to stuff like that, they just get completely ignored. Right. People's attention is like 99% focused, tunnel vision on what's happening everywhere throughout the world regarding the virus. So I found all the display campaigns that we've been running are just pointless. So they've been turned off now.
So what's been the
search?
What's been the most popular one so far?
Search, definitely search and Facebook. Since Facebook's a little bit different and it's more of a community feel. It's not you're not out in the World Wide Web. You're contained within Facebook, so there's a bit more control over what kind of news is shared on that platform.
Right. Since
of course Facebook has a lot of, even though they're not really working very well right now, they have a lot of automated systems that block fake news, for example.
Right. And how do you? What's some of the ways you kind of get past that, if there's a way to get past it?
So that's a good question. So especially for smaller and medium-sized businesses, I would really recommend focusing on organic marketing, organic digital marketing. So let's say, for example, with Facebook, Facebook Live videos, Facebook groups, interacting with your customers directly through Facebook Messenger, stuff like that is still really powerful, especially right now, because with so much fear and paranoia that's going around regarding the virus, people want to feel safe, people want to feel comfortable, and people want to know that someone else is there, like looking out for them. And if you can be that brand and position yourself there, you will easily come out on top of this whole situation.
Nice. And you mentioned before, like some of the industries that you kind of work with is in the educational space. Wow. Would you be able to talk a little bit more about that? Because I've seen heaps of work been happening right now, especially with the pure plays for the educational space, really kind of hitting it hard with regards to advertising.
Yeah. So the international schools, for example, there's a lot of issues revolving around online teaching. I'm sure you've seen plenty of memes also from the US, for example, where students are screwing around while a teacher's trying to teach. But in terms of marketing, it's more of just what I mentioned with the budget reallocation.
Yep.
We had to it's essentially a complete overhaul of the annual marketing strategy that we had originally come up with. back
Yep.
in 2019, since the schools obviously function on an academic year as opposed to a fiscal year. So
Nice. And
things kind of did a 180.
right. Yeah. I mean, do you also find now, like, given the pandemic that's going on, the crisis that's going on, both from a from a health perspective, but also from an economic perspective, do you also see a bit of a shift with regards to the target audience, like just how like the hierarchy and needs have slightly changed a little bit? Like, have you guys seen that or even like contemplated that?
With F&B, for example, we've had to change like location targeting, for example, since people aren't really moving around, people aren't going places. You can no longer really rely on walk-in advertising. So we can't use ads that we would normally use to hyper target people who happen to be driving by or walking by an F&B venue. That obviously doesn't work now. Since it's pretty much 99% delivery now, we have to do a few tweaks to our location targeting so that we focus on people where they live as opposed to where they are usually. So it's also we've kind of had to research the entire location strategy for targeting because of that. So we have to figure out where people actually live now as opposed to where they actually go. So it's a bit difficult, but especially on such short notice, but I don't know, we're making do with it. We're managing.
Nice. That's actually a really good point, which you guys mentioned before, like just pivoting, focusing around like the location-based search or location-based advertising. I think that's really cool, smart way of doing it as well. Like you said before, like now that a lot of businesses are moving to takeaway only or delivery only, it makes complete sense. Also, just shifting gears for 2 seconds, like I think we were speaking just before we went on live that you've kind of worked from home before. Like how are you kind of feeling right now, and how's your team feeling at the moment, like working remotely?
So luckily I'm pretty used to working from home, and I'm a big proponent of it also. So I've been pretty much telling people this for about 3 years now. So people are prepared on my side of things. But for example, it's funny that I say that because my phone just made a noise. Normally I have notifications off, but that's step one, is definitely turning off notifications on your devices. And a lot of usage of time tracking tools and things such as like Freedom app that you can install on people's computers so that it pretty much will block out certain websites so that they don't access them and just remain focused on tasks at hand. Because I mean, I've been there. I understand how distracting it can be at home, especially for people who have families in this situation. It's really, really hard to remain focused. Something like these, for example, would really help too. Noise canceling headphones.
Okay. What are they?
A lifesaver.
Which ones are they?
These are Sennheisers.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. And then switching gears again, you recently did a talk over at the Hive. Did you want to talk a little bit about that and what you kind of spoke about and some of the gems that were out of that talk?
Ooh, some gems out of that talk. Okay, so at the Hive, when was that? About 4 weeks ago now.
Right.
I gave a talk about Google Ads specifically, alongside 2 other people who talked about SEO. And mainly I was showing people how to set up a Google Ads campaign, which I feel is even more relevant now because I've seen a lot of businesses that have pretty much taken their very, very first step into either Facebook ads or Google ads, and they have no idea what they're doing. So I should really probably republish that talk so that people are more aware of it. But basically it was me breaking down the anatomy of Google ad, walking you through your very first Google search ad campaign and how to actually set each setting correctly so that you don't end up wasting money. As well as I even built one basically right in front of people. So I showed them live ads that we are actually running for the international schools, for example.
Nice.
So the advice that I gave was stuff that we actually do here. So I feel like it was pretty actionable.
That's cool. And look, for any of you guys watching this, like I'll share that link to Wes's talk. I think that's, yeah, like you said, I think it's really relevant in today's situation at the moment. A lot of businesses they're looking to downsize. So, you know, even though you're trying to downsize, like the operation still remains the same. And part of that is, advertising, communication. How do you get your message across, you know, in a kind of regular, responsive type of way as well. And so I think that becomes really relevant. So I'll share that along with it as well. Mate, just kind of shifting back, like, you know, how long have you been in Vietnam for now?
Nearly 4 years.
Wow. And what have you kind of seen from the marketing space point of view, like between the time you came to right now?
Facebook ads, definitely. Facebook ads would be the biggest change I've seen. Google ads space hasn't really changed since I've been here, but Facebook ads, just in terms of sheer volume, big difference. Maybe I would say like a 5 times increase in terms of advertisers compared to when I got here 4 years ago. 4 years ago, there was almost nothing.
Right. And when you talk about volume, are you talking about like the inventory that's available?
I mean, number of advertisers that are advertising.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot more people are doing it now, which is both good and bad. Obviously, it will drive up costs for advertisers, which is a bad thing. But it's actually a unique opportunity because most people actually don't know what they're doing. So for the brands that do, it's very, very easy to come out on top and gain a competitive advantage.
Yeah, definitely. And also I think because in this particular market, in comparison to say the West, like the US or UK or Australia, you know, the cost per click is or you know, in terms of, you know, dollars spent is actually a lot more affordable. So you can afford to experiment, you can afford to play around and develop certain custom audiences along the way.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. It's a lot easier to test here, and it's a lot faster as well because of that. There's a lot of volume in terms of clicks, but at the same time, they're pretty cheap. But it's funny that you mentioned cost per click because right now, actually, as an effect of the virus, I've seen them really skyrocket, at least on Google Ads.
Is that specifically on what type of search terms though? Like generic?
Specifically within the international school sector, which is a bit odd because so normally March is like peak month, so same as April, but you know, school's not in session right now and the next term is looking uncertain. So we're actually seeing a big drop, nearly a 50% decrease in search volume. So since people are searching less, it's actually drove the cost per clicks up by like almost 5 times, which is crazy.
Nice. Yeah, that is crazy. That is really, really crazy. But look, like, you know, if there's any kind of, before we kind of close off, what are like 2 or 3 top tips that you would advise if, like, say a client came to you and go, look, what do I do in this situation? How do I still make marketing relevant? How do I keep my job as a marketer?
Number 1 would definitely be organic social media marketing, specifically Facebook here in Vietnam, for example, since Facebook is practically the internet here. Like I mentioned earlier, Facebook groups are huge. Facebook Live video is also huge. Those are like the only ways right now that you can reliably make an impact and actually get noticed as a brand on Facebook. Because as I hope most people know, your organic engagement rate on Facebook as a page is always like less than 1%. So unless you have impeccable content, which most people don't. So Facebook Live is actually a really, really good and easy tool. It takes some learning in order to get used to talking in front of a camera live. But it allows brands to make a much more organic and intimate connection with their audiences because it's more real. Like there's no script when it's live unless you're a news anchor. So it's a lot. You form a much deeper connection with your customers and potential customers. if
Yeah,
you do Facebook Live video.
yeah, that authenticity that you kind of just mentioned, like really does resonate, especially like when it comes to social as a platform, as a medium tool as well. And also I think to add on to that, like in terms of, like organic ads and whatnot, I think the next bit that tack onto that is that user experience. So, if you're pushing these ads out from a search perspective, from Facebook kind of display perspective, and then hopefully you're trying to either pull them back to your site to consume more content or to evoke some sort of action. It also comes back down to that user experience on the website as well. Like, I think I've seen so many great visual ads that you would have seen it as well from Facebook and everything. And then you go onto the website and it's like, oh my gosh, it's so confusing. Where do I go? Like there's so many call to action buttons, but they're all leading to different parts of the site. So I think that's a really important step, in terms of creating that ad, that kind of full, and you spoke about it really early on, like that omni-channel type of experience coming through.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. With online advertising specifically, most people are very tunnel visioned on just the ad aspect of it. But in reality, the landing page is just as important, if not more important, than the actual ads themselves, because the ad is just the hook. The landing page is the bait. Like that's where you actually convert people. So it's not going to work. Like you're just going to be wasting money on ads if you don't have a solid landing page to back it up with.
Yep. So Wes, we're finishing up. Let everyone know, where can they find you?
So you can check us out on omegadigital.org. And that's probably the best place if you want to learn more about Omega Digital, or you can always just add me on Facebook. So that would just be the Wes Jackson on Facebook. And I'm always open to people's digital marketing questions. My knowledge is free for the masses. So just ask me.
Nice. Great. Well, thanks, Wes. For everyone,
Thanks, Andrew.
No worries. I'll put all the links down below as well. And I'll see you in the next video.